All right. We are live again. We are live again. Decided to fire everything up on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch one more time because we might get some good combos after these particular topics. So we have taxes aren't theft, government is good, don't end the Fed, communities over government safety nets. And then we have the first comment here saying taxes are not theft. I agree. It's extortion. Get it right. You are using the Federal Reserve and the government's money, are you not? It is theirs. So give to Caesar's what is Caesar's. It is theirs, technically. You are in their realm. Respect it. Pay tribute. That's all. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not ours. We, the people, own it. No, the Fed is it's a private thing that the government works with. So, yeah. But we don't own it. And that's okay. It's kind of the way it works. I think that income taxes aren't bad. Man, some taxes are tough, LOL, especially with the crippling debt and the lack of budget we have. Property taxes, I would agree with. But everything else, it's not theirs, it's mine. They extort it from me under threat of penalty. It is theirs. It's their money. It's a Federal Reserve note. It's a bank note. It's theirs. But Federal Reserve just changed from .org to .gov, which is suspect. Yeah. Real money jiggles. I like that. He's probably going to be like, currency is fiat. Money is gold and silver. What's going on, man?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
That's why my name's Real Money Jiggles.
I figured. Yeah.
No, it's just, and I understand that. I do agree that the Fed is a privately held entity. That's one of the problems. And we're in such a screwed up situation here in the US because people don't realize, like, if we go to cryptocurrency and we own our money, you realize that everyone who has a loan right now, it gets recalled because the banks can't afford to pay it because your money's been
back up. You lost me. Back up a little bit.
The moment you're given ownership of your money, right now, if you look at your bank account and it says $1,000, it just says $1,000.
Right.
If we go to crypto, it will be serial numbers that add up to $1,000 that you own the serial number that can't be loaned out on your behalf.
Isn't that a
your approval?
Well, yes. Okay, so I get it.
You just destroyed the entire financial institution.
Unless
you nationalized us potentially, because then the feds go or the government goes, we've issued 20 trillion. We only got 10 trillion turned in. We've got 10 trillion left over. If you owe the money to the bank, you own it to the government now, and we'll lower the interest rate and we just nationalize the banks overnight because we gave you ownership of your money. Well,
that's assuming that they use cryptocurrency. They could use a central bank digital currency, and they could use which would be a stable coin, and then they just peg what is already a digital dollar, because most of our money is digital to begin with. It's just on numbers on a screen. The USD really is. Most of it isn't actually tangible. So if they just peg it to a stable coin, though, and then transfer all the debt, and they're digitalizing everything with smart contracts, well, then they could make that transition.
See how we still just got screwed? Because technically, the banks are using our money to make money off of us, and we keep bailing them out. So my suggestion would be that we just change the color of our money tomorrow to green, to yellow. And the leftover money that doesn't get turned in from all the drug dealers and terrorists in the last 100 years of it being lost or burnt and rotting away, we use that to pay off student loans or homes or free healthcare. So we have to be careful about how we approach this, because there's probably 10 trillion that's unaccounted for. And the moment we balance our books, who's going to take that money? So we, the people, want to make sure, I want to at least bring these points up to go. They can either nationalize the bank, they can keep it the same, or we could balance our books and take the money back ourselves and rebalance our budgets and start off again. Because that's the biggest thing I see, like even with taxation, taxes aren't theft. I agree. Misappropriation of taxes is theft. And so our taxes are being misappropriated. When you look at Walmart, they do $1 billion plus a day in sales. That equates to $100 million in free sales tax. A month, that's $3 billion. If they're earning 8% and the late fee is 3%, what are you doing?
Right.
You're keeping 5%.
Right.
So imagine I just said, hey, credit card companies, you collect your 2% before you give it back to the businesses. Fuckers, you're collecting all, excuse my language, sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
All my sales tax before you send it back. So I'm going to have real-time sales tax collection on 90% of all transactions. See how I can now track that and appropriate it correctly? Because taxes aren't theft. Misappropriated taxes, misbalanced budgets, 23 trillion missing from the Pentagon, that's theft.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're dropping a lot of gravy here, man. Like you're way more knowledgeable than I am. I'm just sitting back letting you speak because I don't really have any.
Smoke a lot. I just ask a lot of questions. Is what I do, and I go, well, what would happen?
Yeah, no,
I don't really have an opinion on it. I just have what do we want to do.
Right. No, I get it, man. Like I try to do the same thing. I'm really big into cryptocurrency, and that's what really opened my eyes to the monetary system. And I feel like a lot of people my age became knowledgeable as to what the monetary system is because of Bitcoin. I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin right now per se, but it definitely showed me the evolution of money as they portray it anyway. And, it was a lot of learning. And now what you're getting into is a lot more technical stuff that I'm not too familiar with, but it is interesting to hear your thoughts on that. So when you're saying nationalizing the banks and then reclaiming that, what do you mean? Like, shouldn't there still just be a select group of people who are controlling it? Because not everybody should have a say in the national bank, right? That's kind of insane.
So I'm surprised Trump didn't do this because he hates the banks. When you look at the dollar bill, isn't it already an analog version of cryptocurrency? It's got a barcode on it.
Right.
So why do I need to give you that dollar bill when I can just give you the barcode? And if the Treasury just put all the barcodes online, how many barcodes get turned back in? Because that's what you're doing. And you're making banks issue barcode associations. So you go, look, you're meant to have $2 billion on deposit. You have to give ownership of that $2 billion. And they go, but I can't because I've already loaned all that money out. I've only got 50 million on hand. And see how you just destroyed the banks. And so that's why the federal government, when you look at it, go, if a dollar bill from 1910 is still legal tender, isn't that a problem? We've never balanced our books. Haven't we seen movies of Pablo Escobar burning millions of dollars? Haven't we seen drug dealers and terrorists using our money all around the world and black markets? And they say, but it being used in black markets good. I thought economics 101 is keep as much currency in your own country as possible. And if your currency is being used by other countries, your own economy is going to be failing because you're not keeping money in it.
But wasn't that the whole idea, though? Maybe you can educate me on this, but isn't that the whole idea about the United States? I mean, it is like it's a global economy. We have the global reserve.
I'm saying when I went to Bulgaria in 92 to go skiing, I used US dollars.
Okay.
Not their currency.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wants dollars.
US dollars in a foreign country that aren't in this country for US citizens to have. So when we've issued 20 trillion, and how much of that has been lost and burnt over the last 100 years?
Right.
So can I instantly seize from a drug dealer or terrorist if he's got 300 million in cash? You see how he can't turn that money in? And I literally just seized it without ever even knowing the drug dealer or terrorist.
So are you basically saying then, just really quick, I'm trying to make sure I'm following you. So when you're saying nationalize the banks, you're basically saying don't allow foreign nations to use the USD as their primary source of currency. Is that right?
When I'm talking about nationalizing our bank, I'm talking about right now you owe money to a bank.
Right.
If they give us ownership of our money, the banks can't afford to cover all the loans that are out there.
Right.
So who's going to cover that? That's when the government steps in and goes, well, I got a next 10 trillion here that didn't get accounted for. So I just balanced my books and I got a free 10 trillion. We'll take over all those loans to the citizens. So suddenly we've become like China, where if you want a loan, you're getting it from the government. Now maybe your good credit score and your good citizen score comes in because the government controls whether or not you get a car loan, a house loan, a student loan. because they're the one lending it. And suddenly you have a nationalized bank in the country without free banking, open banking, because open banking's failed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we haven't put any checks and balances on them. Because again, if you ask the bank, if there was a run on banks tomorrow and everyone said, give me my cash, wouldn't this country shut down? Because the banks can't give the cash back to everybody who's got money in the bank.
This is yeah. I mean, this is a good point. This is a good point. Really good point.
So
and then yes, I will let everybody that's in the queue. You will be given an opportunity, but we only allow one guest at a time. It gets too crazy that I find on this show because we cover some controversial stuff. Everybody starts yelling at each other. It's no good. So one at a time.
Well, I find debating isn't good. We're conversing.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to ever have a conversation, I appreciate conversation because I want to learn.
Right.
Because as you see, I don't know. I'm asking questions of what would occur, and then can we collect our taxes better? So taxes aren't theft, but misappropriation is.
So wouldn't you then?
That you add next to it, which is unappropriated or unregulated government is bad. Regulated government is good.
Yes.
Everything comes with a qualification, and that's not what we're not doing anymore. Is qualifying our point.
Right. Now, what did you then think that implementing some sort of public ledger like a blockchain to our banking system would eliminate a lot of the misappropriation because then you would be able to track it? I'm not sure if you know how to do any on-chain analysis. But anybody making transactions using cryptocurrency, you may not know exactly who is making the transactions, but you can follow one particular wallet and see all the transactions they've made during that wallet's lifetime. And so if the government then had a public wallet address that everybody could see, I mean, yes, arguably they could have a bunch of other wallets that they can, kind of flush their trades in or whatever, but there would be a main one that anybody would be able to go in there and do an on-chain analysis of what the government's spending.
100%. And I agree with that sort of aspect. Whereas the open QuickBooks, any corporation gives quarterly and end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the U.S. corporation, we pay a daily dividend in sales tax. We pay an end of the year dividend in income tax. And our share is devalued every year by the management, all while employees who work for said corporation are taking their life at a rate of 22 a day due to the work conditions. Like any other corporation, we'd be demanding a shareholder meeting and overthrowing that, and the government would be demanding hearings into why the work conditions are so bad. I think they're doing it right now for Amazon. But again, why do we have 22 of our employees taking their lives a day because the management are saying, do you know what, we'll pay $500 for that pen that only cost $1. So you can make $499. I want to go, no. I'm going to take that $499. You get your dollar. You get to sell that. It's a privilege to sell. You've made your money at the dollar. And the $499 is going to go to mental health or care for the vets. See, it's about appropriating the funds, not just tracking it, but appropriating it correctly. And that's where we need the oversight on what are these things doing? Why is our share devaluing year after year? And they keep asking us for a budget increase, but we never ask them to balance our budgets. That's why I say taxes aren't theft. Misappropriation of funds is.
That was a really good point that you just made. That was a really good point you just made. So you get charged taxes on things that you get that you pay for already. And what you're saying is that those taxes should have a specific location they should be allocated to, not just something that's obscured that nobody knows where they're going. And I like that. I like that a lot. That makes a lot of sense.
10% of sales tax goes to the police force, 10% goes to schools, 10% goes here. We're able to track and trace now because we've got the 4 credit card companies collecting our sales tax from all the companies. Here's what comes in. Here's what we divided out. Each one of those agencies, you better appropriate it. If you ever come asking for more money, you better have balanced books.
Right.
Because how can the Pentagon... So again, terrible facts. I'm not here saying controversial. I'm not here to create the whole conspiracy theory. But you have to remember, what was it? Just the day before 9/11. So 9/10. Didn't Donald Rumsfeld talk about the $6 trillion that was missing from the IRS, from the Pentagon, that they were going to be researching? And the next day, all those records miraculously got blown up in a terrorist attack. to turn us back into a remilitarized country, because Clinton had been demilitarizing us into a smart manner of an economic with a strong military and a strong economy, and had us at a surplus on our deficit, and suddenly we're at war, and now there's 23 trillion missing from the Pentagon, and we're all fighting each other. So I don't know, but again, why aren't we making sure that they're appropriating our funds correctly?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't mind paying taxes. I pay taxes, but I don't want to pay taxes if I don't know what they're being used for. And when they say, well, we're increasing it, well, why? You haven't shown me a balanced budget, and nothing's been done, so why'd you get that?
Right. Well, and I know that, I don't remember which one of the Pauls did it, but either Ron Paul or Rand Paul tried to pass some piece of legislation to audit the Federal Reserve, and I think audit Fort Knox as well to see if the gold is actually there. And they didn't allow it. They didn't allow it, obviously. Yeah. Which is also, it's going to be very interesting because a lot of countries right now are trialing central bank digital currencies. They're going to have to run on a blockchain ledger. Now there's many different forms of blockchain ledgers, right? You can have a private one, you can have a public one. They're going to be a hybrid form where you got to have a certain key to access it, and it's sort of public, sort of not public. Anyway, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, because all those transactions will be recorded on the blockchain, but on what blockchain? And then I don't know. It's just very interesting. You're making a lot of sense of what you're saying.
Well, what I want people to do as well is start having fun. Mm-hmm. And here's something interesting. When you look at paper money, or when you look at history and inflation, 1962, the average median income was $6,000 in the United States. Minimum wage was $1.10, and gas was 27 cents. And then you notice that they'll add the inflation rate to get us up to $8 is what it is now for the minimum wage, so on and so forth. But you notice what they never take into that equation is my namesake. The fact that $6,000 was silver. If I multiply that by $25, that's $150,000. The $1.10 was silver. That's $30. 27 cents gas is $5.50. So your median income was $150. Minimum wage was $30, and gas was $5.50. That's a very livable wage. Mm-hmm. Now, median income is $40,000, 51 if you're lucky with double income. Minimum wage is $8, and gas is $4 to $6. Where did 2/3 of our money disappear to since we went off this and we went to more of a fiat-based currency, and drug dealers and terrorists are using our money around the world? Right. So you see why resetting it to go, well, can we even now maybe back this with an asset? Because a dollar bill today is worth $1. For 4 quarters from 1964, still gets you a gallon of gas.
No,
isn't that fucked up?
It is. It is.
I want to excuse my language.
It's all good. Now,
like that dollar in quarters, 4 quarters, that's $25. So 1 quarter still buys you a gallon of gas today. So a quarter from 1960s, and you can still find that free money all day long. It's in your change. People, I've owned stores. People gave it to me all the time. You can go to the bank and still get it. Right. It's amazing. Hell, I picked up.
Yeah, junk silver. You're talking about junk silver. I have. Yeah.
Not even junk silver. It's real. It's real money.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not saying that it's junk, but that's the name for it. If it's like 90% silver or something and not 99%, they classify it as junk silver. But yeah.
The bank gives it away for 25 cents.
I know.
Or 50 cents.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, so anybody who has what is it, like I think it's 1950 silver coins, like a quarter, that's silver. That's
64.
64. Okay.
64 is where they stopped it.
So 64. So the 64. So yeah, pay attention to the date on your coins, because you may have more money than you think. This is something that I didn't know about until I started. I didn't know about this until I started. I was a silver stacker for a little while, and so I got really, really big into silver and gold. I was a gold bug too. I mean, gold and silver, yes, I think they're good. But this is something that I wanted to ask you, because you seem to know a lot more than I do. I've heard people much smarter than me say that going back to a gold standard would actually not be beneficial to us. And the reason it wouldn't be is because who owns most of the gold? Well, the same people who own most of the money, the fiat currency. So the system would still be in the hands of the corrupt, and it wouldn't really stabilize or I don't even know the right word for it, but decorrupt the system. It would just change in how they're going to do the corruption. So I don't know if you have a take on that or not.
I mean, I think that's something where even if it's not gold or silver, what commodity can we back it with other than a GDP of consumption and militarization? Because that's not a proper economy to be backed up with. So what are we backing our economy with? And whether that be even hemp-based products that we can start creating, oil products, what are we backing it with? And if we don't have that physical commodity and we just have, well, we're the United States. Look, we're just going to create stuff. We're just going to spend money, and that's our GDP. That's not right. We need to get back to a manufacturing country. We need to get back to a production country. And at least then that could be underwriting it. But until then, we need to have something more stable, or at least stabilize our destabilized fiat currency, which is, hey guys, balance the books. Let's find out how much money's missing over the last 100 years. Because even when we still had the old dollar bills, they're still legal. $100 bill from 1910, I could go in and spend a 1934 $500 bill right now. I'd get $500 for it, but it's got a collectible value of $1,500 to $2,000. But that $500, if they put it into silver, would be 500 ounces of silver times 25 bucks, 12.5 grand.
Right.
$33 an ounce of gold at the time. They could have had 15 ounces of gold or $30,000. So just storing your $500 bill to pass down to your family, it's worth $1,500. If you put that into just coins and change at the time, it's worth 30 grand to 15. Fuck that thing. I read that S&P, if you did it back then, you'd have had $11 million by just putting it into the S&P in that period of time or something. So this is what they're not teaching in school. They're not teaching just critical thought theory of think, question.
Right.
That's why things aren't working. So I don't know if it would be good or bad, the destabilization, if it's just certain people with the gold. Don't know. But again, people hopefully smarter than us can figure that out. Now, if you're like crypto, here's something that people haven't realized with crypto, and I'd love to see a crypto company do this. You get all the old junk silver, you get all the old $20, $50, even a modern $50 gold coin. Does not have a commodity value, but it's also got a legal tender face value that you can generate a sale attached to it legally. So I could get an old collectible 1920 something St. Gaudens worth $1 million in a PCG. I just put it into a coin case, put a barcode on it, put that in a safe. Now you can buy and sell and transact that, because that $1 million coin is only worth $20. So you can buy your Bugatti for $20, pay your sales tax on $20. The owner can take a huge loss on it and trade it back in because it's a collectible under a different taxable bracket. And he can take that gold coin and put a $20 bill in because it's a legal tender.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, no one has done that, and that creates a currency where 10 cents nickel can be worth silver value. So you don't have to break.
But then don't you start the issue in which many, people in the gold and silver community bring up, and that is now you have a new paper market for these commodities where you see this distortion and manipulation of pricing on the silver. I forget the technical name for it, but there's paper silver and there's gold silver. So wouldn't you just be introducing that problem again?
No, because this would still be being backed by a physical asset that's not going to be sold.
But isn't that the idea of the paper? But isn't that the idea of these, IOUs for the silver and the gold that are traded on exchanges?
Yes, but with this, you're actually going to own. You can actually own the physical asset, or it can be kept in the safe. See, the problem with the exchanges is they'll have 1 ounce of silver and they can sell that 88 times.
Because it's it's reserved.
When I have one physical coin, I can only sell it once, and that's only one owner of it because it's blockchain. So that's the problem. Is they're creating pieces of paper.
Well, hang on.
If I buy one car and sell it 88 times.
Well, this is interesting because yes, the fractal reserve is what you're talking about, and it's interesting you bring this up because you can do the same thing though with the blockchain, and I'll explain to you how. And so you're aware of Ethereum, I assume, right?
Correct.
So Ethereum, for those of you that don't know, is basically a place where you can make smart contracts and transact and make a bunch of coins on, make NFTs, etc. Right? So it basically is the internet of crypto, if you will. And what you can do is you can make a a carbon copy of Ethereum, which is currently being done, and take all of the smart contracts, all of the coins that are built on it, and then put it on this new network. So what would be stopping, let's say, the government from saying, okay, we have Ethereum, and there's somebody using Ethereum to do exactly what you just said, barcode on X commodity. But now, since they're against this fractional reserve, it doesn't matter because code is law, and we can fractally reserve it, print more of it, if you will, by just copying the entire chain and code with that barcode. So we don't even need to own the piece of metal or commodity that has the barcode, but we can trade it on our blockchain because we'll have the same code, if you follow what I'm saying.
I understand that, but what I want to be able to do is give people the ability to own it. Just imagine, this is very simple. Imagine if PCGS or one of these grading companies, if they just, because everything is blockchain there essentially. When you look at a PCGS coin, isn't that just a blockchain? It's in an analog form. You can look up that number and it will give you exactly what that coin is and potentially even who owns it. So you could actually physically own it, or you could say this is being held in a safe. Mm-hmm. And here's the beauty about not just attaching it to gold. I'm saying attach it to egotistical gold that the mints of each country print. So I can buy a $50 gold coin right now that's $2,000. If I put it into a case and grade it, it's worth $3,000. So right there, I just created a blockchain $3,000 item that's got worth $3,000 that anybody can sell. They can take it, sell on the open market even. That's just attached into the tradable aspect. But it only has a purchase value of $50 because now I've attached an actual legal, tangible number to it. Because isn't that the problem with blockchain? We can't take it because it's not a currency. Well, what I did is I just hijacked egotistical currency to create a face value. And you can do that with Euro, Australian, with Chinese. Every country issues egotistical currency, and you're taking full advantage of that loophole is what it is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. Hey, I got somebody else that wants to. I got somebody else that wants to hop in here. So I'm gonna be.
I'll jump out here.
So I appreciate it, man.
I'm gonna pleasure chatting.
Exactly. I'm gonna give you a follow. So thank you very much for coming on here.
Oh no, thank you. Look forward to the next gentleman as well. Hearing their conversation. Thank you.
All right. So here we go. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
So I've had this running theory for a long time because I've spent my life trying to re-engineer things. It's just something that I do. And I had this thought, what if, because I was trying to create this new world order kind of thing, and essentially it was going to be like a long-term rehabilitation center.
Are you a part of the Illuminati?
Huh?
I said, are you a part of the Illuminati?
Well, in a spiritual sense, yes, but not in the way you would think. But, I have one rule: do not purposely force your will upon another. And so I've been trying to mischievously plan that every day with world domination to give the world free. So I did all the numbers, I ran it, and originally I really wanted to get into crypto because my friend had taught me about Roadway or something like that, and it was 42% interest. And I was like, if I could get $32 billion at 42 daily compound percent interest, after 5 years, that would be $600 billion. I could buy the world back. And all I would require for people to do is to work on their mental health. And I have this great formula that I've been working on that's been helping people with dementia, Alzheimer's, and other things like that. And then I thought, well, what about cryptocurrency? Because, there was another person and they're trying to start something to where people could have their information back. And I don't want to speak on that because that's still in the works for them. But essentially what I was thinking is well, what if we could turn cryptocurrency into a dossier for ourselves, to where we could put notes and facts about our emotions and put them in a file that's in a cloud, essentially, like a tangible cloud of consciousness that only we could access, and essentially give ourselves more control over our understanding of ourselves without having to give to, essentially the way that the world's kind of been taking our information and doing that already.
So are you talking about something like a karmic force coin?
I would see, and I apologize. I've had to learn your guys' language called logic. So I think yes. Essentially, and it would be so people could I was just trying to figure out a way to do it to where people could get back their own individuality and not be subjugated to have to do things that they don't want to do, and they could articulate it. And also, I mean, you got the government studying all of us. Why can't we study ourselves and have access to our own selves and reflect on our own selves? I mean,
Why do you
understand with the way of the world.
Well,
I'm sorry.
my question would be, though, why would you need a coin? Why would you need something like that to understand yourself?
So I was thinking, so you know how we go to like doctors and stuff like that? So I was thinking, instead of us leaving our information in the hospital, what if they had to give it to us? And if they wanted that information back, they would have to notify us versus the other way around, because it's our information.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of the idea that's floated around right now. There's interesting thinkers that are actually talking about this. I'll pull up one of their names on Twitter. I gotta find it really quick. Now, she's against blockchain technology, but she talks a lot about this actually.
Yeah, because I'm still getting into the crypto, but I was just thinking, if we have our own secure wallets and there's like this ledger like that's in there and it can't be hacked, that would give us security over our information and control. Essentially, we would all become our own businesses, and then people would have to come to us, or organizations have to come to us and apply to get our information.
Yeah, so that is kind of what is being planned by the elite, so to speak.
It's been working.
Yes, it has been. Because, I mean, essentially what they want to do is put everybody on the blockchain and all their transactions to be monitored, and then for you to be rewarded for good behaviors, they'll pay you in the form of currency. And then additionally, though, well, what you're talking about is also narcissistic too, is it not?
Well, yes. So here's the thing that I deduced here recently, that the way of the world, and I'm not pointing fingers, but briefly, when one rule, do not purposely force your will upon another. Well, people use people to serve them, and if you don't want to serve anybody, make money and have people serve you. That's a narcissistic personality trait. Anybody who doesn't want to listen to that, they'll usually make up something that doesn't fit, whatever it may be, and not want to listen. That's a trait of narcissism called cognitive dissonance. And then what happens from there is they usually have a falling out, because people don't stay and try and work things out. They try and force their will upon another, like apex predators. And inability to see the other person's side, their emotional state, their emotional being, us not being able to speak our truth and our emotions, because one person's best intentions can be another person's worst reality. It creates conflict and continues a narcissistic tendency. It's kind of like a negative, what is it? The tax thing, when you internal wealth, what do you call it? Compound interest. It's like a negative compound interest that's created the current world order. Narcissistic. And yeah, our parents did the best that they could because we are the best version of our upbringing, and so on and so forth. And every mistake that we've ever made, we never meant to make. So I didn't mean to get all deep into that, but that was the emotional little things of being able to dissect yourself when you have a moment out in life and you want to reflect on it later, because you do still have a life to live. To be able to somehow take that and tuck it away and come back to it another time, so that you can actually live instead of trying to pay for a living. It's like internal wealth, but in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but you don't even need that then. Like, there are many tribes that don't even have currencies as we know them, and they have control over everything they do, pretty much, with the exception of weather.
And that's why I have one rule: do not purposely force your will upon another. And
well, I do have a question about that, though.
Back for all of you, so I tried to figure out how to reverse engineer crypto coins so that you guys could have your tangibility and find your emotions too. So,
I mean, you wouldn't really need crypto to do that, though. I mean, I feel that I have pretty good control over my emotions. I don't think that I have any mental health problems. And then also, I want to question you a little bit on don't forcefully push your will onto others. Well, don't you have to do that as a parent, though, especially for young children? to keep them safe.
And that actually makes complete logical sense for this day and age. If you think about it, if you see your kid falls and scuffs their knee, and you run over to them and soothe them and ask them to calm down and explain to you what happened, well, that's what we've been taught to do in the society. But we unintentionally, but intentionally just told them to calm down and let us know what was wrong versus just letting them cry it out. Because socially, if it got out of control and they started screaming, it wouldn't be acceptable.
Well, what
it
if
was an unintentional but intentional accident?
Well, hypothetical scenario then, though, like I would force my will upon my children if they were attempting to put a fork in a light socket. You know?
Right. So see, one person's best intentions could be another person's worst nightmare. You had the absolute best intentions, but if he would have continued that, well, he could have been fried. So we do our best. It's just what we unintentionally forget is how did it emotionally impact the other person? And that's something that we've lost sight of because the world unintentionally forgot it too.
Gotcha. Yeah, interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. So crypto, I think is really cool, though. I like the way it all kind of works and tinkers. It actually helped my brain evolve so I could articulate things better. So it does have its good sides.
It does. It definitely does. And I thank you for coming up here and talking about it. Interesting stuff for sure.
Thank you for your time, and you have a wonderful day.
You too. All right. So I am doing well, Father No. How are you? I was on YouTube. Cute. Let's see. Are you? Tax starts F and government is not good. The Fed is a scam. Oh man, none of us would be able to survive without the Federal Reserve right now. Most of us wouldn't be able to. The whole economic system would fall apart. No bueno. Without a government, that would not be bueno either. And taxes, well, the money ain't yours. The money is printed by the Fed, and the government enforces it, so it's theirs. Give to Caesar's what is Caesar's. The government hates anonymity. I don't know about that. They're the ones who kind of, created the whole fiat, right? It's like the most anonymous form. You see the people. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sounds like some type of crypto new internet. Yeah, I know. Very interesting stuff she had to say. You need some form of payment. Let's see some other things that we couldn't get to here. Taxes shouldn't be paid on your house or car after you buy. I agree with that. Let's see. Why can't we just help one another without asking for a payment? If we just really helped to help, we'd all be good. Okay. I mean, it would depend on who you would help. Like, you are good, bro. That's good. I can kind of read Spanish. So, yeah. So some good stuff. I mean, the first guy on there, the Real Money Jiggles. I like that. I like his name. I followed him. Really smart dude. Would you consider it? No, I would not. Would you do the same for yourself? Are you a comedian, family man, brake press operator, amateur stand-up comedian? You're a comedian. That's cool. Do you actually do real comedy? Or are you one of the mainstream comics today that censor yourself and you're politically correct? Yes, sir. So you do comedy that's quote unquote politically incorrect or politically correct? We need more real comics because comics help heal the world in a lot of ways. They relieve the tension of society. And that's huge. This is why kings would always allow the jester to make fun of them. That's why jesters were allowed. and kingdoms to make fun of kings. So that way they would relieve some of the tension. And so they're a very, very good thing. Tim Dillon is the GOAT. Don't like that guy. I don't know. He's, I don't know. So everyone who tries to make a national debt-free currency like Lincoln, Kennedy, Hillary. I don't know that Lincoln did that. I don't know that Kennedy did that. I don't know about Mr. Mean Mustache either. Gaddafi, maybe. And that isn't necessarily true. I mean, look at Bitcoin. Satoshi Nakamoto, right? And then Ethereum. So, there's a lot. As far as comedians go, I mean, my favorite comedian is Owen Benjamin. Although I don't really listen to much comedy, to be honest with you. Not, really big into watching stand-up, but I do respect it. It is needed. So, yeah. Unless there's somebody else that wants to jump in there. I know there was somebody really eagerly waiting earlier to get in, but I guess he got impatient. So, it's all good. It was probably that little mean dude that comes in here. I think he's little. Just from how he sounds, I could be wrong. He could be like 7'10", but I could be wrong. Viking Craft 777. What's going on?
Nothing much. Is this? Hi, I'm Colton. It's good to meet you. I find that those niceties are going away as we do more and more TikToks. Right? How's it going?
It's going all right. Yourself?
Pretty good.
Good.
Just had some food. My wife and I are eating ice cream and about to watch a show.
Nice.
Yeah. You? Pretty good?
I'm doing well, man.
Good. Is this, what's it called? Where you're not being serious?
No,
parody? No, I forgot the word.
Satire?
You're satire. There we go. That's the one I was
no, I'm not being satirical.
Really?
Really?
I mean, I need to get your thoughts on this before I even talk. I kind of was in and out. We had dinner, and I saw this one, and I just had to come back.
Fair. Yeah. So what do you want to know my thoughts on?
I can see that taxes aren't theft. I've heard some debates on that one. Government is good, sure, but don't end the Fed, man. You've got to okay, just what do you mean?
So you think that we should end the Fed?
I don't want to say anything before I get your opinion. I just want to understand you before I express myself.
So who makes the economic policy in our country? The Federal Reserve, right? Or central bank?
Well, it's a conglomeration of individuals, but yeah.
Well, it is the Federal Reserve who makes the economic policy. However, at a fundamental level, yes, the people are the ones who created the framework for the government and the economic system. True. But the Federal Reserve is the one that's in charge of our money. And so while they may be extremely corrupt, while they may do usury, while all these things may be true, I don't know about you, but I don't have my own farm. I'm not completely self-sufficient. I kind of need the U.S. dollar in order to live in society as it is. Mind you, you don't need money to live. I'm not somebody that's saying that money is a necessity to live. You can live off the land. But what I'm saying is I'm not prepared for that. So if I'm not prepared for that, why would I want something that is allowing for my lifestyle to end? Why would I want that? That makes no logical sense. And also, what would you replace the Federal Reserve with?
That's not rhetorical.
I mean, it could be, yeah. I mean, you don't have to answer it.
Oh, well, I have several answers for that, but I just wanted to. I'm glad I'm hearing you out. What you're saying is making sense. It's logical. Good train of thought. That's why I wanted to get your perspective on it first before I said anything. And it makes sense because, like my parents always say, don't quit your job before you have another one lined up. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't burn down a system before you have another something to replace that system, because the vacuum just creates even worse monsters that use worse tactics, like selling teeth or selling people, or So I agree that that's a good point. Don't end the Fed until we are, as a society, educated to the point where we could end the Fed, or. Have you heard of goldbacks?
Yes.
And see, and this is the issue that people run into, that it takes a lot of work to wean ourselves off of this binky that is the Federal Reserve. And until the pain is large enough to make the change required, no one is going to change.
Yeah.
It's just like addiction. Until the pain is great enough, no one will change.
This is true.
And even if solutions are presented, everyone will be like, "Well, the system is good with the status quo. It's too easy until the system either hyper deflates or hyper inflates out the top or the bottom." And that's what people and then it handicaps you to the point where people are so stuck on the system and addicted to the system that they don't know how to get out of that system at all. And that, by and large, seems to be the issue that we're facing right now.
Yeah.
At least in conversations that I have with most people.
Yeah, and I want to address the comment that's on YouTube. It says, your video the other day said Christianity is the way, yet the Bible says usury is wrong. True, partially true. The Bible says that usury is wrong on your own countrymen, but you can use it on foreigners. But I am typically against usury, but it's not necessarily wrong. The way that we use it today, though, in the United States, it is wrong because we use it both on our countrymen and on people outside of the country. But you missed my point, Father No. It's not that I'm thinking the Federal Reserve is this great thing that should, that's almighty and it's always right. It's not what I'm saying. My point is, I don't have anything to replace it with. I'm greatly dependent upon the economic system that it enforces. It greatly affects my life in a lot of ways since I choose to live in society and civilization. So, yeah, I mean, I can make my money. I don't have to be a participant in the usury system. I have no debt myself. My family has no debt. So, we're not participating in it. We're not creating any more we're not enriching anybody off of usury. So you are dangerous, as somebody says. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you. So anyway, I just wanted to address that comment there. But anything else that you wanted to talk about? Don't know what happened. I think maybe he cut out. Potentially. Let me let him out, and then he can come back in if he wants to come back in. Why do you say I'm dangerous? And you're the dangerous one. You're suspect. Your followers are 666. I grew up in a world of lies, deception, and self-righteous hypocrisy. Ooh. All right. Hey.
That's funny. Your followers are 6'6". That's funny. It just seems like we got to learn a new way. If that takes. I'm a fan of cryptocurrencies. I don't like how controlling, how easily manipulated they can be. But I mean, Goldbacks has extreme potential, but it takes a huge shift of society to even start considering that. Silver's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any solutions? Like I'm all for hearing.
I am not an economist. I'm the wrong person you should be asking with. How do we fix our huge mess of the economy? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm a big fan of cryptocurrency. I think that cryptocurrency can offer some solutions, but I don't know. I don't know enough. I would be very ignorant and arrogant to think. I'd be more so arrogant to think that I could tell you what would solve the world's problems, because there's issues going back to a gold standard, right? Because, well, one of the big issues is who owns most of the gold? Central banks. So who's going to be in charge of most of the money? Once again, central banks. So there's going to be a lot of manipulation there. And then when there's a gold standard, are they still to allow fractal reserves? I don't know. So I don't know. I just don't know. I can't offer a solution. Hence why I am don't end the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was one that I heard of this is kind of have you heard of agorism?
No, I haven't.
So I kind of like taking that anarchist approach, like peaceful anarchy type stuff.
Oh, you said anarchism.
One of the things that's
Did you say anarchism?
Approach.
I'm sorry. Did you say anarchism?
Yeah, peaceful anarchy.
Okay, yeah. So I have heard of that, and I think it's very naive thought process. But anyway, go ahead. Right.
I mean, small scale stuff, it works. But in Vietnam, I believe it is, whenever a child is born, they will plant a rice field that is sustainable for the food. I think that one's pretty cool. Yeah, you're right about gold and silver. I don't know. I guess that is pretty true about arrogance, about thinking that you can solve the problem. But then again, on the other side, when there's a problem, there's got to be a solution that's better than the current situation.
I agree.
Anyway, I'll leave you to it. You got a good point. I agree with you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you as well. There has to be a solution, right? But it's for somebody that's much more educated in economy than me, and probably has a much higher IQ than I do. So I'll leave it to them, and I'll discern whether or not I like it once they provide the solution. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. Just to go off anarchy, I don't think anarchy has existed anywhere because everybody has a ruler. So I think anarchy has never existed simply for the fact that if you have a mom or a dad, you had a ruler in your life at one point. So it's antithetical to life. It doesn't exist.
You used the wrong word, or we have a difference of definition on that one. Mostly agorism. To me, agorism is the answer, and charity and helping your neighbor and not asking the government for help and trying as hard as we can to wean ourselves off their system. That's all I'm promoting.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So how do you spell agorism? I want to see the definition for it.
EGORISM.
There it is. Okay. So let's see. It's a social philosophy that advocates creating a society in which all relations between people are voluntary exchanges by means of counter economics, engaging with aspects of nonviolent revolution. Okay. So it's not the same as anarchy then. It's different than anarchy. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I kind of meant. So I'm an engineer,
okay,
and an inventor by nature. So what I design, the products and things that I design, I try to make it so that once you use them, it indefinitely makes your life better. Just things that you can just check off the list.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm about, is making stuff that, right now, when you buy a car, how long do you expect that car to function for?
Well, it depends on the make or model, but maybe 200,000 miles. So however many years that is. So people drive 15,000 miles on average. So maybe 12 years, 13 years. Right.
I strongly disagree with the current engineering status quo that we're being pushed into. The sustainability of the current systems that we are using right now are atrocious.
Hey, I was a mechanic. Just so you know.
How long did your cell phone last? That one's
true. Just so you know, though, I was a mechanic for quite some time. I'm 26 now. Started turning wrenches when I was 16. I've been doing it on and off for 10 years. So yes, I agree with you that a lot of modern.
So how much do you like it?
Say that again. I'm sorry. What did
How
you
much
say?
do you like engineers?
Oh, dude, you know that we hate you guys.
How much do you like? See, I've been on both sides. I was a mechanic, and then I became an engineer because of how bad engineers pissed me off.
Yeah, man. Yeah, actually, we have somebody that might be in the chat on YouTube. He was actually going to go to school for mechanical engineering, and we met at an automotive shop. We were both mechanics at the time, and he was going to school for mechanical engineering. So it's kind of funny you break that up.
That's awesome. Yeah, after a certain point, I just got so done with how poorly engineered a lot of things are and how they just don't. It's like they get educated at school and don't think about like the mechanic that has to work on it,
Right.
the people that are going to be driving the car. They're just in it for the money and not in it for making something that actually works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I really hate it when somebody would bring in their car for a simple oil change. Everything's hot, and for whatever reason, I don't know, the engineer decides to put the oil filter right next to the radiator in a very tight spot, So it's like, yeah, go ahead, get a 3rd-degree burn as you're doing an oil change. It's all good.
Exactly. 100%, right?
So, yeah, man, yeah. No, but engineers are awesome. We need engineers. They're a very important part of our society, obviously. I have a family member who's a civil engineer. So he helps out a lot with like setting up water treatment plants and stuff like that for governments. And it's a very important, field to go into. And there's a variety of engineers. So
mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's really the biggest thing, like that of what I try to push people towards is agorism.
Mm-hmm.
You create systems that, I don't know, you like a possible solution for the
mm-hmm.
current situation we're in, non-profit oil rigs.
Interesting. Explain that a little bit.
Pro bono lawyers, pro bono oil rigs. Why do we need to have people that are profit seeking? Instead, we crowdsource and crowdfund our own oil rigs and make them non-profit.
I guess I don't know. I don't know how much it would cost though, and I guess you could get enough people, but then you're I don't know. That's interesting. I know it's voluntary. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. That's an interesting idea that I have not heard before.
Beauty. Well, I'm going to watch a movie with my wife, and what's your name?
My name is Luis. That's my first name, but we have, obviously MOT today. This is our backup channel, actually. So MOT News is our main channel that we typically go live from, but we've been banned from there until the 22nd because I say bad things that offend people. So you know how it goes.
You made my wife laugh, so I'm going to follow you and your other channels here.
Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
All right. Luis, good to meet you.
Likewise.
God bless.
All right. You should read The Creature from Jekyll's Island. Yeah, I understand. I understand the origins of the Federal Reserve. But what are you going to replace it with? And do you depend on the current economic system to live the life that you live? If the answer is yes to that one, and you don't have something you would replace it with, then you should not be encouraging the head of the Federal Reserve. Either of you guys ever heard of the Carrington Effect? No, I have not. Know what ejection is? No, I do not. Digital currency is a fail? Debatable. Taxes, cringe. You're awesome, dude, but they don't have to work on anything. The engineer. Yeah. Profitable civil disobedience, I'd suppose. And $30 trillion of debt. What do we have of value to show for it? It was stolen. I mean, look at history, man. Look at history. The Constitution says only the Treasury has the legal right to issue currencies to yes. So yes. So what's your solution? I mean, What do you propose? I mean, like, how would you go about reverting the power? How would that transition take place? Engineered obsolescence in all manufacturing. Yes, I have heard of that. But I haven't heard of the effect. I haven't heard of the name of the effect, but I have heard of engineered obsolescence in all manufacturing. Yes, they do that with the iPhone. Statist or non-statist capitalist? I don't know. I mean, you would probably call me a statist. Advocate of a political system in which the state has substantial centralized control over social and economic affairs. I mean, yeah, I like the government. I don't know, I like the government. I think that regulations are good. I think that the government is a creation, or it's a creation of man that was inspired by God. So I don't think the government is bad. So I do think that there should be government enforcement of social things and economic affairs. Yes, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. There should be some centralized control, 100%. Decentralization doesn't exist. There will always be a centralized power. So why not have that be the government instead of some other bad guy? So, yeah, I mean, I'm not even a big fan of like free markets, so to speak. I think that there should be regulations on the markets for sure. I'm not a fan of monopolies. I'm not a fan of SEX trafficking. I'm not a fan of corn industry, if you catch my drift. It rhymes, it's the P word that rhymes with corn. I don't think those things should be allowed. I saw this interesting post the other day that Frank Sinatra went to jail because he lied to a woman saying that he would marry her in order to, get intimate with her. And he was jailed for it. I think we should bring that back. I think that we should bring that back. So, yeah, I guess you would call me a statist. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, anybody else have something they want to talk about? Any questions? Want to hop in the queue, hop in the box? We can talk about anything you like. There's a lot going on in the world. We covered that in the last stream. You can check that out at MOT Media on YouTube, and then it'll be everywhere else in a few days. But brief history, no one wants to work anymore. Interesting. That sounds like an interesting thread on Twitter. Probably have to check that out later. How do I hop in? I don't know that you can. You would have to get on TikTok, and you would have to have a follower count of 1,000 or more to hop in the TikTok. So on TikTok, if you have one, MOT Today 1 is where you can see this live stream. And then you can hop on in here, send an invite to join. I don't think that you can join through. I mean, I suppose I could send you an invite, right? I could send you an invite using StreamYard, but I don't know if I can send it to you personally. Yeah, I don't know that I can send it to you personally. So you'd probably just have to go on TikTok. Oh, I'm not on TikTok, bro. Gotcha. I'm not sure I can get on. Anyone who believes this BS is an idiot. Why do you say that? And why do you got to be so rude? So what would you replace the Federal Reserve with? The government and the Fed make your money, so it belongs to them. Give to Caesar's what is Caesar's. What would you replace the government with if the government is bad? And why are communities, because government is inherently corrupt? That's wrong. They're not inherently corrupt. How are they inherently corrupt? The government allows smaller government power. So you want smaller government power, but they're inherently corrupt. I agree. If people don't like the government, vote and participate. Yeah, I mean, in your localized community, in your local community. But you want smaller government power, but they're inherently corrupt. So regardless, you still want this corrupt system, is what you're saying. I do vote and participate, but you still want a corrupt system, right? Because you believe it's corrupt. These doom days people are bugging me. Thanks for your positivity. Hey, not to rain on your parade, but there are some things you need to prepare for. You need to start finding localized food sources. Supply chains are breaking down. Prices of things will go up. The dollar is getting stronger, however, and this will be a huge issue in the future. No worries, bro. Just wanted to talk to you about how a CME, or high altitude nuke, or EMO would do. So it's a huge fail. Yeah, that's all pie in the sky thinking, because I believe the states would have the final say over the Fed. Well, what I'm talking about is the Federal Reserve. Prices are up everywhere. We need solutions. The solution is this: localize your supply chains, all of them. Start a business that provides a valuable product or service for your community. For your community. That's one thing you do. The next thing you do, if you have the property, start your own homestead. Or on a small scale, get some chicken, grow some other fruits or vegetables if you like. Next thing, if you don't have that, well, the Fed, you don't know that. That's an assumption that you're making, but you don't know who did. Objectively, you don't know who did. You can believe it, but it's not a fact. It's a theory. It's a hypothesis. Well, I'll give you as much as it's a theory. Okay. And then, stop depending upon the big box retailers. Just localize your supply chain as much as you can. That will help mitigate some of the blowback that's going to be coming. It's coming. It's a reality. I got you. I know what you meant. I know what you went, Father. No. I agree. I shop locally. Right on. So be a productive member in your community. Do things of value. And that will help you. But yes, hard times are coming. Hard times are coming. These are unavoidable. This is a joke, right? No, it's not satirical at all. It's not a joke. The government is good. The government is something the people created to operate a society. How do you feel about mismanagement of our tax money as far as budgetary reasonings? Yeah, of course there's abuse with that. Of course, I'm not a fan of it. I think so too. We need to be more involved. Yeah, locally, 100%. So if you are politically inclined, get into your local politics. Some dude in the air guard, right on. It's not always good, but it's needed. I would agree with you there. Yeah. But I would say that governments are a fractal of how God governs. So they can be manipulated, though, obviously, right? There's a satanic government as well, I would say. So, but they are needed. And if they're needed, I mean, there then has to be some good to them. Because we don't need anything bad. We don't need anything evil. We don't. All right. Anything else? Government is good. Are you referring to our government? I'm referring to governments in general. Can governments be corrupt? Term limits are badly needed. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I would say that the amount of time politicians serve should be much, much longer. And I think that we should have a king or a president for life. We need fresh people in office. I don't know about that. I mean, right now, yes, but I don't know. I think if you give people more time in government, be able to get more things done, right? I mean, that's a weird ask. King or president for life? Yes. Fed is great. Without it, how will we have as much inflation as we have? Okay, you can look at it that way, but without it, where would your money be? They're outdated? No, they're not. They're around all over the place. But a coronal would be the solution, because everyone would have to go back to farming for themselves. If you grow your own food, no man will work for another man, farm for your family. Feudalism would come back, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Do you know what fiat currency is? I do. I really, really do. Funny how lazy nerds live socialism. I mean, you're making vast assumptions. I'm far from a socialist. My money would be with me. Who would make your money, though? Who would print your money? Who would implement economic policies? You guys obviously haven't thought this through, and you think I'm the stupid one. So who would implement your financial policies? Who would make your money? The U.S. Gov. Oh, but you just said, so the U.S. government must be good then, right? All these comments then beg for money. Nobody's begging for money. I would serve myself. How would you serve yourself? And who would say that they want to trade with what you have? Who would agree with your made-up economic system? Nobody is obligated to be governed. You can think that, but you're always governed. There's no escaping it. So, I mean, once again, who's going to make your economic policies? Who's going to determine, who's going to want to trade with you? That's communal? I don't know what you're talking about. I would love communism. I'll take everything I can and not work for any of it. I'm not a big fan of communism at all. But I guess you can do you, JKB, whatever. Yeah, it's all nice and civil until the power goes out. Then your neighbors will turn you. Exactly. Father No gets it. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me again how explain how taxes aren't theft. Very simple. The money doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the Federal Reserve and the United States government. Why is the Federal Reserve needed? Very simple. They make our money. They make our economic policies. They're the reasons why our money in the government as well has any validity, since it is a fiat-based currency. So we need the military to back in. We also need the petro. And then we also need their connections, right? Their system that they've set up, this global economy in which they've set up, that other countries want to do business with us on the basis of our dollar. This is insane. You guys think I'm insane for saying we shouldn't end it, but then you can't logically explain to me any of these things. Obviously, a federal employee go away. No, Federal Reserve isn't part of the government. I know. I get it. Example of corruption with Paul. Yeah, I know that insider trading, 100%. Show me where in the Constitution that isn't it. There's an amendment. There's an amendment that they added. So why? And I'm not saying that it's constitutional either. I'm just saying that it isn't thievery. It's just not theft. It's not. So why is my land, even if I wanted to go off grid? I agree with you there. So property taxes is a different story. But as far as like income tax, sales tax, I agree with it. 100%. But I don't get property taxes. I don't get that at all. So, I mean, all you guys that want to end the Fed, what are you going to replace it with? Tell me the economic system in which you're going to replace the Fed with. And how would you do it? How would you implement it? And what would you do right now if the Federal Reserve lost all its power and the dollar bills stopped printing? What would you do? What would you do? Because you're obviously not thinking long and hard about the make everything. How would you do that, though? How would you keep from mass pandemonium? Without the Fed, my money would be in national bank in a debt-free state, potentially, hopefully, but you don't know how your states are going to act, right? So what are your states going to do? What would your states do? Is the money even worth anything at that point? Who's going to have the dominant currency in the United States? Will there be a United States currency without the Fed? And if there isn't a United States currency without the Fed, is there a United States? I don't know. You tell me. The Federal Reserve doesn't print money. The Treasury Department of Printing and Engravery does. Amigos. What's going on? How they do it before 1950. You tell me. You tell me. You're going to go back to a gold standard? How would you go back to a gold standard? And then also, who's in control of all the gold? Who's in control of all the gold? Who owns most of the gold? Central banks. So what are you going to do? Why should we end it? And what happens if we end it? What would be the repercussion of ending it? All right. I'm going to get out of here. The Fed is great. I mean, yeah, we kind of need it. Government has confiscated gold before by FDR. No, they didn't. It was voluntary. Anarchy, but the weak don't need to survive. Anarchy never works, never will work, has never been a thing. You will always have a ruler. If you can provide for yourself, then the barter system would work. That's assuming people will want to barter with you. That's assuming people will want what you have. I highly doubt you would be the ruler, Zach, with the way you're acting in the chat. I highly doubt it. Sure, voluntary with threat of imprisonment. Let's see what you're doing. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait a minute, bro. The Federal Reserve wasn't around prior to 1913. So what the F? A national debt-free currency was what we had before 1913. Jefferson said, if we allow private banks to issue credit. Yeah. I know. When has big government ever turned out good? Honest question. I don't know, but when did anybody say big government is good? You just got triggered, and you're a Republican. You're not supposed to be like them damn leftists getting triggered. But you're getting triggered because I said the government is good. I didn't specify what size government, But then you assume I said big government's good. The government is. The government is. It is. You said government is good. So I'm asking, when has it been good? No, you asked, when has been government been good? When has big government been good? Look at your message. Look at your message, bro. When has big government ever been good? City, good. State, not good. Fed is garbage. Great. I'm not saying the Federal Reserve is the greatest thing ever. I'm just saying don't end it. We don't know what we should replace it with. At interest, a corporation that grow up around will gobble up everything until you're, comment. Well, the government has been good then. My bad. I'm not triggered. Just asking when you think it's good. I think that it's not bad right now. There ain't nobody coming for me in my home. I sleep pretty peacefully every night. That's pretty cool. The government provides a layer of that protection. I mean, the laws, like most of our laws that have been enforced by our government, my local government's pretty good. You know, I live in a pretty good area, so that's cool. On what aspect on the government, local or federal? That's a much better question. That's a much better question. I think my local government is good. I think my local government is good. I think my state government is okay. I think the federal government is obviously corrupt, but it's better than not having a federal government. All right. What's going on?
What's up, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man.
I hear you. So, I believe that the local government's good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it all starts at the local level.
100%.
Then it circulates to the federal. Because then you elect your state officials, your Senate officials. This big old melting pot of them, like, and everybody arguing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, they can't ever get nothing really across.
Yeah, well, I still think that in our current system, you need a federal government. I mean, what would protect us from outside other bigger governments? I mean, if you just have the state of New York on its own, can the state of New York defend itself? I mean, I think that it's pretty arrogant of us to try and say that we need to get rid of our federal government and just keep our local governments, our statewide governments. Not saying that's what you're saying, but
that's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah, not saying that's what you're saying, but yeah, is our government corrupt? Of course. I think I have some good reasons as to why it's corrupt. But yeah, you can go ahead and speak. I can still hear you. I just have to grab a phone charger.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, we agree. The government is good.
But the thing is, with like the federal government itself, there's a lot of. I'm not either Republican or Democrat or moderate. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't belong to either party. But here's the big but: I have conservative beliefs. I just don't look at one thing. If they want to do away with one thing, I'm not gonna say it ain't gonna affect me. I look at both sides of the ball. So, but I think the federal government's really corrupt in our country.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something we can agree on. Because, you got like people in there that are career politicians that, that been in there way too long in Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I get that argument. And just to answer a question in the chat, nobody had addressed that we should get rid of the bigger governments. Nobody said that. I get that. I get that sentiment that politicians are in there too long, whatever. I get it.
Mhm.
But I'm a big fan
But
of
let's backtrack what you said earlier too. I am a gun owner. About 95% of Americans own firearms.
me too. Yeah.
You can look right. So, like the big argument there is other countries. So let's say like Russia, for example, or Korea. They look at our military over everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they always assess for the military. They never, but all their strategy plans will fail because all the Americans that own firearms in our country, because their troops, anywhere in the country that the troops, that they try to land them, they would land under fire. There was a guy that, I don't know where it is on TikTok, but he was in the military for like 7 odd years. You know, like did like 4 or 5 tours in Iraq. Since he's been there since the mid '80s or some shit. I don't know. But like, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm just a white trash construction worker. I don't know much.
What was that?
I'm just a white trash construction worker. I don't know much.
Hey, man, that's a very, you know a lot. You know a lot more than a lot of people.
Well, I'm a commercial electrician as well.
Yeah, dude, those are very, very valuable skills to have. So don't ever downplay yourself, dude. You know a lot. You probably have a better perspective on the world and a more realistic perspective on the world than a lot of people do.
Right. Because, you know, there's a lot of culture. You know, there's a lot, I think I would say it in a bad way, but like there's people on the jobs that are union, non-union. Me personally, I'm not a fan of the unions. I've done union work. I was trying to get on in the local power company to be as lineman, but you never get accepted, so I was accepted to be an electrician. I've been in the oil fields,
Nice.
done residential, commercial. You know, I've done it all.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. We need more younger people like yourself to do that. I mean, you look pretty young. You're probably what, in your early 20s?
Yeah, 22.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah, man. That's a great profession to be in. Hopefully more people will go into it because we need it. We do. You know, I was a mechanic for a little bit of time, and I know I have enough skills to work on my own car, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I've been debating going back into the field, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time.
Right.
But
right. I mean, it's not a bad thing to know things, you know, like that.
Right.
Because it saves you a lot of money.
It does. It really does. Saves you a lot of money.
Because I do a lot of side work. You know, I'm about ready to get my master's license, start my own company.
Awesome, man.
Get my contractor's license, get everything illegalized, start my own little bit residential and it's like a little bit like commercial.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. You know, more people should be starting businesses around their skill sets. They really should.
Well, like the bigger companies, that's the only problem. If you don't have enough client base or enough people you know in the field, you're just gonna get pushed out by bigger companies.
Yeah.
Because I live in Central Arkansas, and there's like 90 to about 120 companies that do electrical work on residential and commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the big push, you know, plumbing companies as well, you know, like local mom and pop shops. That's all started, you know.
Right.
These companies have been around since the mid-'80s.
Yeah. I mean, so you have competition, but you can. There's
that's
room.
The nature of the game.
Exactly. It is the nature of the game. Yeah, I'm in an industry as well. I have a commercial cleaning company. There's a lot of I own one, and there's a lot of competition in that as well. There's a lot of people who already have established. What was that?
I bet. I mean, anything that has to do with like any commercial clients, you're gonna have competition regardless.
Oh yeah. It
don't matter if you're doing construction, remodels, or cleaning, or maintenance work.
Yeah, man.
Working shutdown, you're always gonna have competition regardless.
100%. And it's just really about getting out there. That's what it is. Just hustling.
Right. I'm a fourth-year electrician, about to get my journeyman's license. I got another 6 months.
That's
then
awesome,
I'm
dude.
Done. Then I go test out the state, get my license. Gotta wait 2 more years to test out my master's, and I go take a test for my contractor's license.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. That's awesome. And then somebody in the comment just asked, I hope that list is satire. It is not satire. You explain to me why you would want no government. Because why would you want government if the government's bad? First question. So if you don't believe the government is good and the government is bad and corrupt, why would you want a government? And then also, if you want to end the Fed, what economic system would you replace? What would be the what would be your money? What would be the economic system? Name one problem the government's made better. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. I mean, the government is set up. We're talking with an electrician right here. He deals with regulatory codes all day, bro. You tell me that let me ask you this. Do you think that, I'm pretty sure since you did residential, we got somebody right. This is the perfect person to ask. You've done residential electricity, I assume, right?
Yes, sir. A lot of houses.
Have you seen people attempt to do their own electrical work that hasn't been quote unquote regulated?
Yes.
And would you say that it was safe and that people should leave it like that and you would encourage people to do it?
I don't recommend doing anything if you don't know what you're doing. Don't do it.
There you go. So there's a standard and a regulation in place for a reason.
But you can't stop people from doing their own shit.
Right. No, I agree with that.
Because the main reason that people die on 120 to 208 is because of residential, because people do their own electrical work. Because it takes 1 amp to change your heartbeat, you're dead.
Oof.
And for 120, that's about 45 amps. Depends on what your electrical load is in your house. And these are 20 amp receptacles, usually what all your receptacles in your house is either 20 or 15. Depends on the code, depends on what you have, and especially your panel is.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, I mean, and you said that the codes are not written by the government either. Well, who are they enforced by? I mean, you can get penalized for these things.
The NEC National Electric Code.
Okay.
And also by the FFPA, Fire Protection Act.
Okay, and then are they have, I'm assuming that they're sort of governed by the government.
To a certain degree.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is the federal government or any government at all, the only reason is on building codes. That's the only thing.
Yes. That was my point. Building codes. Yes.
Now, the inspector comes in once a year to make sure everything is up to par. If it's time for the inspection on a job site, like big commercial, because we're doing a radiology building in Little Rock, and that's a dwelling. People stay in those. Right. You're gonna have either a local or a state inspector come and inspect everything for the sheetrock's up in the ceilings to make sure all your pipe straps, just to a certain degree. He ain't lying about that.
That most of them are jokes. I get that. I can get that too. But my point is that regulations aren't bad. And also, I would say the government is good for zoning.
He makes a good point. No, they are written by
electricians.
People who are electricians.
Yes. Yeah, so I'll concede to that. Okay, totally fine. Maybe that wasn't the best example, but there are building codes that are enforced by the government, and they're not necessarily bad. I would say on the most part that they're good.
I don't know how much you know about construction. There's something that we all try to avoid at all costs. It's called OSHA.
Yeah, I know OSHA. Yeah.
Association.
Yep.
And they're liable to come on jobs at any time, find any kind of problems. Because, they got different departments. It's like the ATF and the FBI's got local offices. They got their offices all in every state.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but also zoning. Zoning, the government does a good job at zoning for the most part. I'm glad that there's zoning regulations. Oh, she can't get back safety third. I don't know what that is. But yeah, I mean, zoning is good. Like, I don't want for, depending on where you live, right? Like, I grew up in the country. I'm originally from Michigan. I wouldn't want a bunch of corporations to be allowed, to come build on property near me. I want there to be zoning. I would disagree in zoning. I would 100% disagree with eminent domain. I'm not even making the argument for eminent domain. I'm just saying that I agree with local governments on zoning. There should be zoning laws.
Now, here's another thing you got to take consider too. The EPA, the Fish and Wildlife.
Yep.
They all take accountability when they go to zoning, like for new commercial builds.
Mm-hmm.
Then they take the aspect of the numbers, if somebody wants to build something, they're going to build it. You can't tell somebody that's a private association what they can't build. Now, the EPA used to step in, do their inspection, see what the damage will be.
Mm-hmm.
Other stuff.
Yeah.
But all counterparts, it all revolves around your local government and the federal government on the zoning issues.
Yeah. So, I think local governments, by and large, do good. State governments, by and large, do good. Federal government, by and large, does good as well, I would say. The EPA, I believe, will lose a lot. I agree with that. My view on tax is either property tax or income tax, not both. Just income tax. I don't believe in property tax. I think that's immoral.
I don't either. Well, why do I got to pay a property tax on a used truck when I buy it off the dealership? But I had to pay 2 sales tax in 1 year because I totaled a pickup going to work one morning. And mind you, I bought a brand new 21 Colorado, was 71. Cost me $40,000. Wrecked it. Then I bought a used F-150 that's like not even 3 years old.
Okay.
And I had to pay $2,400 on that damn truck. It was a $30,000 pickup.
Jeez. Yeah, I think that's insane too. I don't agree with that necessarily. But taxes in and of themselves.
States,
what's that?
But certain states, they don't have property tax. Like Texas, I think they completely did with their shit 10 years ago.
I don't know that that's true. I think that everywhere you go has property taxes on land that you own.
Depends on the government.
I'm sorry?
It depends on the local government. Because, Arkansas, we have Bill Clinton actually passed it when he was in office. Passed the property tax law.
Really? Man, I'm going to have to move to Texas or Arkansas.
The only thing he did good.
Right. But all right, man. I think I'm gonna get out of here. I've been going for about 2 hours now. I do appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a good convo.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you. I'll send you the follow.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll be. We go live every day, pretty much. I have a mainstream I do in the late mornings, early afternoon, right around 11 or 1. I typically do it Eastern Standard Time. Go over the news, go over a bunch of topics that's going on for the day, and then obviously have some different topics to talk about. But yeah, so thank you for coming on, man. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Peace.
Have a good